A Dominican Republic resort responds to assault claims from two Thunder Bay women. Transit workers turn up the heat in their contract dispute with the city. And City Council set to make a decision on a controversial youth center.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Well, two Thunder Bay women who allege they were sexually assaulted and later shot at during a trip to the Dominican Republic are scheduled to meet with the local RCMP tomorrow.
The pair, who do not wish to be identified, told their terrifying story to Dougal Media on Friday. Now, a resort official has responded to the allegation online by offering up a very different version of events. The San Juan Police Department also seemed surprised to hear what had taken place. But the story has generated a lot of internet reaction, including some other disturbing stories about the resort in question. Ryan Benazzo has the latest.
It's an alarming tale. On Friday, two Thunder Bay women said they were sexually assaulted in their hotel room in the Dominican Republic by employees of the Bahia Principe San Juan. After they reported the incident to the hotel, they were shot at and nearly killed, they say, in retaliation. In addition to speaking with Dougal Media, the women also posted details of the incident on the travel website tripadvisor.ca. The posting prompted this response from a resort official. "We do not have any record of this serious allegation against the hotel staff. What we have on file is the complaint from several rooms on your villa that you were disturbing them. Because of that, our security staff, together with the night manager, went to your room to investigate the case. You did not open the door, and you were screaming in your room." The original posting from the alleged victims and the response have since been removed from the TripAdvisor website. Thunder Bay Television attempted to contact hotel management, but an employee at the resort hung up the phone when told what the call was about. We've contacted police in Rio San Juan, speaking through an interpreter to a person identifying himself as a police captain. He expressed shock upon hearing details of the events provided by the women, but he also had no record of the incidents. But an anonymous letter to the editor of TBT Newshour describes the Bahia Principe as the sketchiest resort with the sketchiest and creepiest staff, adding, "Many of us had things stolen and the manager didn't care." The author highlights a variety of unpleasant experiences, including waking up to employees rummaging through their hotel room and the feeling of being drugged while at the hotel bar. Other inflammatory posts can be found online as well. Of course, none of these allegations have been proven. The two Thunder Bay women are scheduled to speak with the RCMP about the incident on Tuesday. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
A home on Mountain Road has been completely destroyed by fire this afternoon. The blaze broke out just before 4 o'clock and numerous fire crews rushed to the scene. Neighbors living nearby said the house was under construction at the time. There were no reported injuries, but the house was completely gutted before the fire could be put out. Reports indicate the fire began in the chimney and then spread to the roof and the rest of the home. The smoke could be seen as far away as Arthur Street. We hope to have more details on the late edition.
The Amalgamated Transit Union Local 966 will be in a legal strike position by next Monday morning. The union held a news conference today to talk about their options if a deal with the city isn't reached. Conciliated contract talks are set to begin on Thursday, and the union has brought in some big guns from Southern Ontario to back up their position. Phil Darlington has more.
It all depends on what happens Thursday and Friday.
It's been 18 months since the contract for the transit workers expired. The union is looking to hold on to and improve the wages and benefits for its workers. However, if an agreement cannot be reached by next Monday, job action is a very real possibility.
Workers are ready to go. They have said, with the mandate that we had a strike mandate a few months ago at 99%. They are willing to stand up for what they think is fair, and fair is what we should be getting provincially.
The union is receiving outside support from other transit unions in the province to improve its strength both morally and financially.
We are prepared to come up here. Today I'm by myself. Tomorrow I may not be by myself. We want to ensure that the city recognizes that this isn't a little charade that we're playing, that we're serious about the fact that Thunder Bay workers, transit workers, are the second lowest paid, not to mention that their benefits are substandard to many properties within the province of Ontario.
The last resort is some type of job action, but the talks prior to this don't indicate any positive move by the city.
While all the details about the wages and benefits were not disclosed, Kinnear cites eyewear compensation as one in need of improvement.
They have a package that gives them $150 on a biannual basis. That's deplorable. I would suggest that the people of Thunder Bay would want their transit operators or the employer to ensure that the transit operators have the things that they need, like proper eyewear.
According to Cavisto, Thunder Bay is only just above Cornwall in terms of its transit worker compensation. The last time the union and the city had negotiations, it came down to the 11th hour. And while she says that anything could happen,
So it's time for us to stand up and get what we well deserve.
contract talks are scheduled for Thursday, and the last time the ATU went on strike was the early 1980s. Phil Darlington, TBT News.
City Council appears set to provide financial support for a new youth center. A partnership with the Thunder Bay Indian Friendship Center is up for approval tonight. There has been some opposition to the project, which involves refurbishing the Port Arthur Pras Vita. A petition containing nearly 100 signatures will be presented by those who will speak out against the idea. Despite concerns raised by some, most on council are very supportive of the idea. It includes the city kicking in $2.5 million towards the $10 million project. Senior levels of government are also being asked to provide a total of $5.3 million. In addition to that, council is also being asked to provide $300,000 on an annual basis towards operating costs. Also tonight, council will receive a report outlining major challenges affecting the 4 city-run daycares. The childcare operations are facing an 88% budget increase over the next 2 years.
Thunder Bay's Regional Health Sciences Center is trying to clear up confusion over reports that they say stem from a report that they're laying off 5 nurses from their emergency room. Chief Nursing Executive Rhonda Crocker-Ellicott says the hospital's emergency room will continue to be staffed at present levels, despite reports of departmental cuts. She says the hospital created a resource team 2 years ago that had members shift from department to department, including the emergency room. It's a strategy that was put in place to be flexible and responsive to patient care needs within the organization. She says it has been extremely effective and no jobs will be lost.
There are no fewer nurses tomorrow than there were today. There are 23 nurses, for example, today in the department. There will be the same number of nurses tomorrow. So there is no impact to care at all. This is really about creating a more responsive plan that will really enable us to provide a better solution to episodic care needs, especially in the emergency departments.
The Ontario Nurses Association was contacted for comment, but said they were unable to speak to the issue until later in the week.
Fort William First Nation officials hosted a conference for youth from across the city today. It's meant to warn them about street gangs and the drugs and violence that can lead them down a dangerous path. John Thompson reports.
When Anishinaabe children were in danger, the mothers would sing the Wildflower song to call the men home from the hunt. Today, elders feel the danger as the lure street gangs are hooking into the children of Thunder Bay and Fort William First Nation. A day-long conference was held on the First Nation, hosting speakers who fought gangs as police officers, as well as those whose lives had been scarred by their experiences in gangs. Fort William First Nation Chief Georgianne Morisseau says offering youth an alternative to the family-like magnetism of gangs is essential, but the first step is letting children know gang life is toxic and letting gangs know they're not welcome.
I think that the first step is acknowledging that we know they're there, but what are we going to do now? What's the next steps to go further and say, we're going to target those predators in our communities, whether it's Thunder Bay or Fort William or any community. And we're going to say enough is enough. Don't prey on my kids anymore because my kids deserve a future. Don't take that away from them.
While the conference is focusing on resisting the lifestyle of organized crime, Elder Gene Bannon points out a lot of illegal activity accompanies drug and alcohol use, and he sees merit in urging students to stay away from substance abuse.
The message really is, today is about Native gangs, but the message really is, if you see this, there are a lot of kids here from the schools in Thunder Bay. We're talking about being involved with alcohol and drugs throughout the whole city. We want to make sure our kids understand what could happen if they continue to get involved with drugs or alcohol.
The Thunder Bay Police Service has a dedicated unit that monitors gang activity. A spokesperson for the police says membership numbers in local gangs are stable. Police recognize youth without social support systems are vulnerable to criminal and substance issues associated with gangs, but beyond that lifestyle risk, They say local organized crime is simply not all that well organized. John Thompson, TBT News.
There is speculation that Premier Kathleen Wynne could call 2 by-elections this week. Sources say Wynne wants the by-elections in Niagara Falls and the Toronto area riding of Thornhill over with before the legislature resumes sitting on February 18th. That means she'd have to announce the date this Wednesday for February 13th. The outcomes of the by-elections would not affect the minority status of the Liberal government, no matter which party wins, and it's widely expected the Liberals' spring budget will trigger a general election.
Commuters in downtown Toronto are eagerly awaiting their new light rail vehicles from Thunder Bay's Bombardier plant, and the situation became especially urgent last week when dozens of the city's old streetcars broke down during a bitter cold snap. According to Toronto media reports, 61 streetcars were pulled out of service due to mechanical issues in the cold weather. That's nearly a third of the entire fleet. TTC officials say the new state-of-the-art streetcars will be less vulnerable to the extreme cold than the aging fleet, but Toronto residents will have to wait a while longer as the production lines are still getting up and running. The vehicles will be mainly built in Mexico with final assembly at the Thunder Bay plant. 3 prototypes have been undergoing testing for about a year now, and the 204 new cars should begin rolling out later in the year.
Personally, I don't know of any particular issues, but I know that with any new contract, there's going to be bugs with it, and that's expected, and they will be straightened out, and I'm sure that they'll come out with a wonderful car.
So the actual production hasn't begun until that testing's done, is that the case?
Well, I think that they're going to check to see if there's things that they can improve on once they get them into testing to see maybe there's some alterations we can do to make them more suitable to the Toronto public.
Officials from Bombardier were not available for comment.
A hunting and fishing lodge near Dryden, along with its former owner, employees, and even some guests, have been hit with a total of $72,000 in fines by the MNR. This follows a 2-year covert operation focused on Andy Myers Lodge, located on Eagle Lake. The ministry worked with their counterparts in the U.S., and 11 people pleaded guilty to a total of 68 charges. The court heard the former owner allowed guests to fish and hunt wolves without a license, and then later sold them backdated licenses. Guests were also fed grouse, mallard duck, and elk, which the lodge was not allowed to sell. And the owner took guests fishing for muskie and used more than the allowable number of fishing rods. Along with the hefty fines, the people convicted also had their hunting privileges revoked for anywhere from 1 to 10 years.
2,300 people in Thunder Bay live with dementia, and that number only continues to grow. Last year, the Alzheimer's Society provided services to around 500 families, and they are expecting that number to increase to more than 700. Today, the local society kicked off Alzheimer Awareness Month as a chance to address the struggles that many people in our community are facing. On January 31st, an event will be held at Chapter's bookstore that will help people learn more about the disease. There's a chance to win prizes, participate in brain-healthy games, get a first-hand glimpse into what it's like to live with dementia.
People refer to it as the gray tsunami. There are not enough resources to help the numbers of people that are either going to be getting this disease or the families that are caring for them. So the more people who know about it, perhaps the more funding we can get, the more help we can create for people.
The event runs from 10 in the morning until 9 p.m. All activities are free and open to the public.